Hey everyone, it's Sevi, and we're back with a new cycle of Spiral Abyss. This time we're seeing new monsters from the desert region inserted in some chambers, as well as some reshuffling of mobs. So as always, I'm going to show my run and give you some tips on how to beat floors 11 and 12. So for the usual reminders, let me just flash them on screen and pause to read them quickly. Alright, so looking at the floor buffs, we have the blessing where Bloom reaction teams get an EM increase, which is likely in preparation for Nilu's release. If you're not using that type of team, then this is irrelevant to you. And as for floor 11, there's a huge electro damage bonus in the Leyline Disorder, which really incentivizes using electros here, while floor 12 is just normal. So for the first half, I advise you to use a team that has really good crowd control abilities and or AoE damage. In my case, I used a freeze team composed of Kaya, Xingqiu, Rosaria, and Heizo. Keeping them frozen is really helpful on both floors and makes it almost too easy to just damage them all together. Of course, Animo units like Venti, Kazuha, or Sucrose are also going to be great here. The second half has a higher DPS check. In my case, I went with an Aggravate team composed of Lisa, Fischl, Dendro Traveler, and Sayu. Enemies in the second half, particularly the Terror Shroom and Primal constructs, have a certain weakness against Electro or Quicken reactions, and thus will make an Aggravate team quite effective. In general, you'll likely want a shielder or healer for survivability. In my first team, Heizo actually has a prototype Amber, on top of Xingqiu having a bit of healing. In the second team, it's clearly Sayu keeping the team alive. One more thing, there's a new enemy type here, which are the Primal constructs. If you already know their attack pattern, feel free to skip this, but I'll just quickly discuss what they do. These constructs have an invisibility effect. The small ones aren't totally invisible, as you can still see a shimmering effect. However, the boss one will be fully invisible. You can still damage them though during their invisibility state, but there are ways you can force them to be visible again. You can destroy the parts to force them into a paralyzed state, but using Electro is more effective. Or the faster option, you can inflict Quicken on the construct while invisible, in which case it will immediately paralyze them too. The boss construct is completely invisible, but with the right team, it can actually be easy to find. If you can deal AoE damage, you'll see damage numbers when it's hit. If you have a unit that auto-targets, it can lock onto the construct even while invisible. Or if you can inflict a debuff status on it, animations will appear when it's invisible, revealing its position. For example, downward arrows show it's debuffed. Having an elemental aura gives it the particular animation for that element. Or like in this case, Lisa's conductive stack number actually appears on it. In the second half of floor 12 where this boss appears, having a team that can counter its invisibility can make the experience a whole lot easier. With all that, let's go through the floors. Starting with floor 11, the first and second wave of fungi spawn on opposite sides. Their attention will be on the monolith, and it'll be easy to kill them ASAP.
Let me weave you a verse. Body and mind. Yeah! Get lights out.
Get moving! Cool it! This moment will be frozen in...
You can't run!
Yeah!
Judgment! Witness the power of Guhua! Know my sword! Yeah! Shiver!
Cyclone! Dodge this! Oh, so sorry.
The third wave spawns the larger fungi. The Cryo and Hydrofungus will target you, while the Geofungus will try to headbutt the monolith. Just get their attention, disable them, and kill them as quickly as possible.
You can't run! Lights out!
Get moving! Cool it!
In the next half, the constructs on opposite ends will first target the monolith, while the Eremite will try to target you. Draw the Eremite away from the monolith, preferably beside another construct, and dispose of them together. Don't worry too much about the monolith damage. If you clear the last chamber quickly enough, there's a lot of monolith health to keep this run comfortable.
Come a little closer. Propagate! And away I go! Wings of darkness! You.
No rest for the wicked.
Ninjutsu!
Come a little closer.
By royal I summon! Got a dash!
You're in for a little shock.
Shadow Wave!
Here, I'll target the Fatui first to avoid him going into his shield form, and since the two other Eremites will head towards you anyway, this will make them get grouped up and easier to kill together.
Judgment! Lights out.
Get moving! Yeah! Cool it! Don't get frostbite.
You can't run!
In the next wave, prioritize the ranged enemies first and let the female Eremite leader chase you around. I chose to start with the Pyro Fatui again to prevent their pyro attacks, but you can always start with the Eremite archers too.
Punishment!
Cyclone! Dodge this! This moment will be frozen in time. Fracture!
Rain outlines your fate. Let me weave you a verse. You can't run!
Start with a Hydro Gunner Fatui since the other two will walk towards you anyway. Once they're grouped up, just kill them all together quickly.
Surrender and be gentle. You're in for a little shock.
Once the second wave spawns, get rid of the ranged Eremites since they conveniently spawn in the same place as the first mob, and the faraway melee enemies will also run towards you. But be wary of the bubbles and cages. If these are too annoying for you, you can try focusing on killing the Mirror Maiden first to stop her from creating them.
I'm out of here! Propagate out of my sight!
As you wish.
You come a little closer.
Got a dash!
You're in for a little shock.
When starting the fight, run backwards to where the three archers are and focus on them first, because the other ones will head towards you anyway. Then you can kill them more easily when they're grouped up.
Lights out!
Confess! Fracture! I freeze! Oh, so sorry. Get the berry.
When the second wave spawns, just head to whichever group is closest to you. The Kairagi should charge towards you and land beside the other Kairagi, making it easier to dispose of them together. Try to balance their HPs to avoid the HP regeneration from kicking in, then dispose of any remaining archers.
Witness the power of Gawa! Rain outlines your fate! Judgment! Shiver!
Get moving! Freeze!
Yeah!
Truth hurts!
You can't run! Ring cutter! Ring...
In this last part of floor 11, the Dendro Chicken should be a familiar enemy to you. You can always check their attack patterns in the overworld boss version if you're unfamiliar with it. Since I'm using an Aggravate team, I can force it down a vulnerable state and quickly turn it into salad ingredients. Use iframes and dodges when it charges or thrashes towards you.
You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. Come a little closer.
Now on to floor 12. This chamber is easy with good crowd control and positioning. Just head to the ranged enemies and let the melee ones approach you and they'll naturally group up. Then dispose of them with your AoE abilities.
Keep moving! Dodge this! Oh, so sorry. Yeah! Fracture!
When the Kairagi spawn, focus on only one and let the other one head to you so they can be grouped up easily again. And like last time, balance their health to avoid their HP regeneration.
Punishment!
Confess! Truth hurts! Freeze! This moment will be frozen in time. All before me!
I know. Judgment! Rain Cutter! Rain outlines your fate. Lights out.
Cyclone! Bring it on! Oh, so sorry.
You can't run!
The first wave here is another group of constructs. Apply the same techniques as before.
Let's spark things up a little. Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock. You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock. Come a little...
Midnight Finish! Scatter! Germinate! Gotta dash!
Try not to enjoy this too much.
Propagate!
You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. You're in for a little...
Shadow Raven!
Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock.
Scatter!
The second wave are these two Eremite mini-bosses. Keep dodging and iframing their abilities, but if you have a healer or shielder, that'll make this run more comfortable.
Let's spark things up a little. You're in for a little shock. Come on.
When they take a certain amount of damage, the female one summons a vulture while the male one summons a crocodile. Entering this state also gives the Eremites a resistance buff. These animals can be killed separately, which will stun the respective Eremite and remove their buff. However, I didn't bother with that anymore and chose to just focus fire on the Eremites. Beating their respective Eremite master will make their summoned animal disappear. Sadly, Rana didn't appear by my side to fight.
You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer.
Scatter!
We start with one wave of 4 ruin monsters. Since they can't be sucked by Anemo, you'll just have to aggro them to be positioned close to one another. When you see the opportunity to use AoE damage or disable them like I do with Freeze, then use your abilities. If your start was bad, just reset until you get a good scenario.
Cool it!
Witness the power of Gurwa! Judgment! Shiver!
Cyclone! Bring it on! Freeze! This moment will be frozen in time.
Let me weave you a verse. Lights out.
Confess! Dodge this! Don't get frostbite. Yeah! Keep moving!
Witness the power of Gurwa! Know my sword! You can't run! Punishment!
Cool it!
This chamber houses our good old friend Magu Kenki. If you fought him before, you know his attack patterns already. Simply get his HP to 3/4 and dodge or iframe his charged attack.
Propagate! Spring force! Gotta dash! Odds revealed!
You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. Come a little closer. Let's spark things up a little.
Scatter!
You're in for a little shock. You're in for a little shock.
Face the wall so that he will teleport backwards. If you don't manage to corner him and make him stay to the wall, then you can just keep focusing on him and chasing when he teleports. Use dodges, iframes, shields, or healing to stay alive.
You're in for a little shock. Try not to.
Gotta dash. Wings of darkness. Propagate.
You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock. Let's spark things.
Scatter. Odds.
On this last chamber, this half has 4 small Bathyspal Bishops. Dodge their energy drain abilities or start staggering them from the beginning. A Freeze team helps a lot here since that will ensure they stay in place together. It's also easy to group them up since they'll naturally swim or jump towards you.
You can't run.
Freeze!
Know my sword. Witness the power of Gwa. Judgment. Punishment.
Cyclone! It hurts! Cool it! Don't get frostbite.
You can't run. Judgment.
And finally, we have the new Primal Construct boss as the last half. I discussed at the start of the video about its patterns and how to counter its invisibility, so if you need a reference, check out the timestamp there.
Come a little closer.
As you can see, I just follow Lisa's conductive stack number and inflict Quicken to instantly paralyze it, rather than going through the trouble of destroying the parts. If you don't have a Quicken team, then you can try to brute force it or disable it via the parts. Rinse and repeat this process until it's dead.
Odds reveal.
You're in for a little shock. My.
Scatter. Spring force. Shadow Raven. Gotta dash.
Come a little closer. Surrender and I'll be gentle. You're in for a little shock. Come a little closer. Come a little closer. You're in for a little shock.
Scatter. Just germinate.
As you wish.
Hey, come on out. Almost dodged that. Propagate.
Try not to enjoy this too much.
I summon thee.
And that's going to be all for this new Spiral Abyss tutorial. If this video helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all soon. Take care!